Ash, come on up, please.
Hi guys, I'm Ashley and I'm a recovered alcoholic. Mackenzie, thank you so much. That was like amazing. I did not expect that when I logged on here. But you just straight up told the truth. You know what I mean? Whatever. But what I have a question is like, okay, like it's hard for me to trust God also, and I see that. As much as I want to say that like step 11 is my favorite step, and I meditate and I pray all the time, but like I see in my life that I like to take my will back. You know what I'm saying? And like, what do you do to as much as you know that you don't trust God, like how do you try to at least do that? Like,
thank you. I appreciate that's a good question. So I kind of touched on this a little. Somebody told me a long time ago that people are God in skin sometimes when I can't be fully connected, because like I don't hear this audible voice saying, Mackenzie, trust me, you know what I mean? And so I forever and always, it was told to me, your brain is trying to kill you at all times. And that sounds like kind of, damn, you know what I mean? Like, for real, always? And I know that. And I drilled it. They drilled it in my head, and I try to keep myself green and remember all the time that, like, trust in me is detrimental to my life. So I always, always, always tell people what's going on with me. And then I also, like, when I talk to people, they're like, okay, Mackenzie, let's look at the past. What about when this was good? I need to tell people who know me too. That's the biggest part about the fellowship piece, is not like, oh, we go have fun and let's hang out. But it's like, I have to tell people what's truly going on in my head and in my life, so they know me. And so when I get to those spots, I just tell myself always, and somehow they lead me back to God. And it's not those people I'm like, I'll call and say, man, Ash is blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, I hate her. They don't do that. My friends said they care more about my life than my feelings. So I call people who are always going to tell me the truth. And the people I talk to, they lead me back to the solution and to the truth. And it's always, why are you acting this way? Why are you in fear? Why are you angry? Why are you scared? Why are you trying to control all this stuff? Isn't it because self-reliance is failing you? Isn't it because you don't trust God, so you're trying to overexert yourself to get what you want? And you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh God, I'm doing it again. So, if I could fix my own problems and make myself trust God, I would have done that by now. And I believe it's an ongoing process. And so it's like something I always have to work at. And for me personally, I've accepted the fact that I'm never going to get to the place where I'm just like, light beams, that's just not me. I'm hard-headed. And so when I know how I am, I feel like this is kind of, I don't know about, this is funny when you're speaking about alcoholism, but I feel like if I know better, I do better. And I know that my brain is trying to kill me. So for me to keep that in and not tell anybody about it is like signing my own death warrant, So I snitch on myself all the time. I write all the time. I question things all the time. And my question to myself, like, every day is like, how is self-reliance failing you? My sponsor makes me literally write that down every single day. How's self-reliance failing you? How are you not trusting God? So I think, I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what it is for me,
Thank you, Ash, for your question. Next up is Leanne from Winnipeg. Come on up, please.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now. Thank you very much. My name is Leanne, and I'm an alcoholic, and I'm in Winnipeg, Canada. Hi, Ellie. I really enjoyed your talk tonight. My question to you is, after saying you don't accept God and you have no use for God, how in the world did you change that? Because I'm not of the same background. I'm a practicing Catholic. And I'm just wondering how a person who doesn't believe comes to believe. I know that's one of the steps, came to believe in a power greater than us. But you personally, if you could please answer how you worked through that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Leanne. So my coming to believe was a lot of resistance and a lot of doing things the way I thought they needed to be done, falling on my face, slamming my head into a brick wall, getting myself in all these painful situations. And I was talking to people throughout the whole thing, and they just kept telling me, you know, it's like after I did the fifth step, I wasn't blind to it anymore, if that makes sense. I could see my part. And when I would talk to people in inventory, I would always see how I got myself in this situation. Nobody made me do this. There's no alcohol to blame on it. I can't blame anybody else. I'm sober now. So all my problems are of my own making. And page 52 is very real in my life at 3 years sober. You know, all the bedevilments were hitting in my life. And so it says, at the end of 52, it says, our ideas did not work, but the God idea did. And I was like, oh my God, all my ideas have got me in all this misery. And, you know, and so it was little instances like that where I had to be shown through my own experience, like, and thank God I had people in AA around me to continue to tell me, and like, remember when you said da, 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 remember when you did this? You did that. And so it was experiences like that. Like it was desperation, because everything I did was killing me. And everybody else was happy around me, and they had a good life, and they were all singing the same song. You know, they were all talking about this power, and I was so resistant. I was like, how come they're happy and I'm not? There was one key element missing, you know, and I didn't want to believe in God. I didn't want to come to believe. I wanted to be different than everybody in AA. It just kind of happened. Because I kept coming to the meetings and I kept hearing these experiences, and people would say the promises are so real in my life, and I'm 6 years sober and they're not real in my life. And I'm like, what the heck? You know, why? And again, I guess it was just through experience, you know, through being resistant to following the program, realizing like this ain't working for me, getting in enough pain, and having no other option, having to try God, and then seeing all the benefits from doing that, you know. And then I believed. Does that make sense? I hope.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you, Leanne, for your question. Siobhan, come on up, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm an alcoholic. My name's Siobhan. Thank you, Mackenzie, so much for sharing your take on Step 11 tonight. I was working last night, so I have to do the Dropbox for you and Teresa, which I'm looking forward to. What stood out to me tonight was there were quite a few things, but one in particular, the thinking myself out of meditation. How did you end up correcting that? I guess, like turning it around into being able to meditate and quiet the mind.
I asked a lot of questions. I targeted people. I knew they were spiritual. I knew they had a good life. I knew they did what they said they were doing, and it showed through their actions. So I targeted them, and I was obsessed with these people. And I was like, "How do you do this? How do you do that? What do I do here? Blah blah blah. We're supposed to ask questions. I need your experience." Ying, ying, ying. And so somebody told me to be aware of my thoughts. And so when I sit down and I'm meditating, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking about, I only have $40 in my bank account, and I hate that girl, and da 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 da. You know, when my head goes completely left field, when I recognize that this woman took my big book and she drew this big red button with a finger pushing it. She's like, you can always reset your thoughts and you can always reset your day. So I'm very visual. So when those things would come in, I would envision this big red button. It was like, you know, this is kind of silly, but you know those chambers that fill up with water and you can hit a button and they all drain? It's like my head's this chamber, and I'd be meditating and then I'd be like, bam, and I'd hit this button and they would all go down the drain. And it was just a good visual for me. And that worked for me for a while, and I'll still do that today. But the writing piece, when I'm trying to meditate, I write when I pray. I write sometimes people don't want to write their whole meditations out. You don't have to. I have to, because that keeps me fully engaged and focused. So my mind can't go anywhere. And I think it's just with practice. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit down for 45 minutes like a guru. Just do a little bit at a time. And, you know, does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, cool. That's just what I did.
Thank you, Siobhan. Philip H., come on up, please.
Hi, my name is Philip. I'm an alcoholic. Hey, Mackenzie, I heard you last night, and thanks for being a great example at an early age of what it's like to be sober. My question for you is, my sponsor has me doing an exercise where I need to write down 10 characteristics of my higher power. Can you tell me about that process, if you've done it, and what your characteristics of your new higher power is?
Yeah, I had this Native American guy. His name was Merlin, and he wore like a tassel jacket and all this turquoise and moccasins, and he was like real. The spirit guides told me I needed to talk to you, you know. So he came up to me one day and he said he knew I was having trouble with God. He told me to take a piece of paper and fold it like a hot dog long ways, and he said, write everything God is and write everything God is not. So I went, I did it, and I was so proud of it. I brought it back to him, and he said, let me see it. And he took it and he ripped it in half. And I was like, what are you doing? You know, why'd you do that? I worked so hard on that. And he just threw away the God is not. And he said, here's your higher power, you know? And so, and it's, I come from this weird, like I got daddy issues. I always wanted a daddy and all this stuff. So like, you know, mine was like, forgive. I mean, I don't know what they need to be for you, honestly. But for me, it's like, I need somebody who's transparent, forgiving, loving. And then sometimes I really don't even know what God is or what God is not. I just know I've experienced God, and I quit trying to I overcomplicated this so much for so long. I was like, I need to know what it looks like and what its name is and how it walks and how it talks and where did it come from and was it chicken or the egg and da-da-da-da-da. And like, none of that is relevant. What's relevant is like, how do I connect with and tap into the power that we call God, you know? And so I did all that stuff, but I think if I tell you what mine is, honestly, that might be doing you a disservice because you need to figure out what it is for yourself. How you like that?
Thank you, Philip, for being here. Jimmy R., come on up, please.
Philip.
Hey, I'm Jimmy. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. Mackenzie, fantastic job. I saw you last night as well. Got both your talks. Came back for more. That was fantastic. You didn't leave anything on the table. I was curious as to what your how you go into how Mackenzie retires at night. If that comes into play, if that's two-way prayer, and how you do that.
Yeah. So I tried to write it all down. I tried to write it in the morning and write it at night. And I was very undisciplined and I couldn't do it. And I would beat myself up. You know how when you're supposed to do something at work, you're like, I'll do it tomorrow. And then it's 2 weeks later. That's how I was doing with the retire at night, because I was like, anyway, I screwed up a lot is basically what I'm trying to say. I made it more complicated than what it was. And so now mine is just kind of like, I'll go to sleep and I know, have I been selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate, who have I harmed? You know, everything is not written in red ink. What are the good things I've done today? And I just kind of do it in my head. But I know if something's eating my lunch, I don't wait until I'm going to bed. You know, it's kind of like once you've been doing it for so long, it's automatic. You know what I'm saying? And I took everything so freaking literal. I was like, I have to wait until I'm about to go to sleep and write this in a notebook. And somebody said, why, who told you to do that? You know, when these things crop up, we deal with them immediately. So, you know, sometimes I forget to do it, but if something hardcore is going on with me, I usually deal with it right then, if that makes any sense.
Thank you, Jimmy, for your question. Lana, come on up, please.
Hi, everyone. It's been a great meeting. Thank you so much, Mackenzie, for tonight and last night. And again, Teresa, thank you for last night. I really enjoyed your sharing. You are wild as hell, and I love it. So, you know, you mentioned your daughter and different things going on with your family and stuff. And I was just wondering, like, could you give us an example of how would you pray when something is going on within your family, right? Like finding out that your, you know, grandfather had I mean, because it disturbs you, it disturbs your spirit. So when you are disturbed, an example of something you've been disturbed about and what your prayer was to address it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lana. I bet you're wild too. You're just containing yourself. It was weird, you know, because the first prayer that came into my brain when that happened was like, how can I be of service? Make me channel thy peace. You know, there's just one prayer. I've been writing it for ever since I got sober. I don't know where it came from, but it's like, please guide us, help us be of maximum service to you and others. What can I do? Please help me not make this about myself, because I'm really, my first initial reaction was like, I can't believe he did this to me. This is my grandfather. And the very next thought was like, you selfish bitch. You know, like, this is not, excuse my language, like, this is not all about me. And it just kind of kicked, like, don't make this about you. And I immediately went into like, what does my family need? What does my niece need? What does her mom need? Because her mom just found out her dad tried to sleep with her kid. And like, you know what I mean? So like, I go into, and I don't know if it's some trauma mixed with AA, you know, but I want to be a fixer and I want to help. But at the same time, AA told me, like, if I'm disturbed, no matter what the cause, there's something wrong with me. If we have sex problems, we throw ourselves harder into working with others. Like, if I have any issues, intensive work with other alcoholics is going to save the day. And so for whatever, and it doesn't even really have to be with alcoholics, just I need to be of service. I don't need to sit in my head and start feeling sorry for myself. That is not going to help me. And so I didn't even audibly think like, I need to pray to be helpful. It just kicked in. Does that like a lot of this stuff? And I think that's what happens with this meditation stuff is what does it talk about in the book? It says, we're not even swearing off. I'm not even trying not to think. I can't remember the words exactly, but it's like, it's just been removed. Like my thinking has just changed. My prayer just kicks in, and that's kind of what happened. I wish I could say I thought I should pray to be of service, but it just kicked in.
Thank you, Lena. Sharon T, come on up, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sharon. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I don't have a question. I just wanted to tell you, Mackenzie, first of all, I did the math, and I think I've been sober as long as you've been alive. I'm not sure. But that's by the grace of God. But I related so much to everything that you said. And I just wanted to share with you that, you know, all the times while you were sharing, it's like, I don't know if I'm making any sense. I don't know. You made so much sense to me anyway. And you know what? That's what it's about, right? I struggle with God today, and I've been going through that for a little bit. And I'm like, oh my, you know, now what, you know, what's going to happen to me now? I've lost God. And I think it just goes, you know, kind of like you said, it's just like life happens. And that's how it's been for me too. You know, I had a bunch of old cranky men, you know, that got me sober. And I hear that, and your share is like, you know what, let me listen a little bit more, you know, to people and what they've gone through. Let me pay more attention. And I won't remember to pray for that. But I think for me, because I just won't. I hate two-way prayer as well, but I do it anyway. My sponsor's on this call, so I'm telling you the truth. But there are some wonderful women that I love so dearly.
Please, Sharon.
Okay. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you so much, and you made a difference.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. You know, come on up, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is June, and I am an alcoholic. And I don't have a question, but I have a comment. God separated me from alcohol on January 20th, 1993, and I'm 66 years old, and I could relate to you, Mackenzie. And one thing you said, that touched me was, I wasn't looking for you people, but you showed up. And I am so grateful that you all showed up. I am grateful for my recovery today. I am grateful that I have God in my life. And I'm grateful for all of you, because without you, I'm nothing. So thank you all for being here. I love you.
Love
you
you
too, Yuna.
Precious angel.
Thank you. And by the way, Mackenzie, if you have a comment to make after a comment, please feel free to make your comment.
Cool.
Marcy, come on up, please. 1 second here. Go ahead. Marcy, come on up, please. You just have to press the unmute. No? Once.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Mary. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mary
That's
C, I
okay.
got it, Marcy.
I didn't know
I'm
if there was
sorry.
somebody
My bad.
else. That's okay. Hi, my name's Mary, and I'm a grateful alcoholic. And Mackenzie, I was here to hear you last night as well. And I just want to say you're candid. The way you speak is incredible. So the thing that impacted me about your share, I do have a question. You know, when you said about the things that happened to you, how you turned it around and how you decided to make it about how you came to that point where you decided that you were going to use it to benefit others. You know, and I mean, I had some childhood trauma, and it's been really hard for me to get over that. And my question to you is, did you have therapy, or is this just something that you worked on and worked towards with your sponsor, with other alcoholics? Because what you said has really impacted how I feel about where I'm headed, and that I can do this and I can maybe get there. And so that's my question to you. And thank you so much for this talk tonight.
Thanks, Mary. Funny you say therapy. No, I'm just kidding. So my experience is for 10 years, I was just raw dogging it and trying to study the book and inventory. I inventoried my childhood stuff so much it made me sick. I was like, again, we're inventorying this again. And I had all these sponsors. I kept swapping sponsors because I was looking for somebody I would try to talk to people and they'd be like, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like they didn't know what to say to me. And I felt very defeated and very alone in AA, and like, maybe I'm just crazy, you know, and maybe I'm just not getting it. Maybe I just need to read more, pray more, and do more and sponsor more. So I was very transparent about everything. I talked about a lot of stuff that probably shouldn't have been talked about in meetings, honestly. But I got to the point where, you know, it was such a detriment on my life. Like I got scared of people. I would sleep all day. I was having PTSD flashbacks constantly, just in the middle of Walmart. I'd have a flashback and come out and be like, okay, well, let's keep going, you know? And, so I just sucked it up and went to therapy because people had been suggesting that I go seek outside help for 10 years. And I actively ignored the suggestion for 10 years until it got so unbearable that I went and got some help. And like, it has really enhanced my AA life. And I feel funny saying this. A lot of people have told me this, and I'm kind of like Mickey said, I'm trying to be humble, you know? But like, I think I talked to Teresa or somebody, but like, I have a gift. I'm just good with people. I don't know why. I'm just really good with people. So, you know, I was talking about all this stuff, but it was like, it didn't even happen to me. It was just like I was saying a script. Like I was so disconnected from it. Does that make sense? Like I had no emotion about it, and I had just completely disassociated with it. So I would say like, I got brutally raped when I was 4 years old, and people would be like, you know, and I'm like, what? And so a lot of it I dealt with in AA. The most help I received was from therapy. And that really enhanced my ability to help others, because I wasn't just one piece of we talked about last night, 2 elements in the cement that bind us is we have one common problem and one common solution. I had the problem down pat, but I didn't know what to do with it. So I could just identify. And so getting actual help for it and being able to like lead people in the right, because for a long time I led people in the direction of what I was doing. I was like, let's just inventory this. And I'm not a therapist, you know, but I was just doing what I knew to do at the moment. So now I'm like, hey, maybe you should go talk to somebody about it. if that helps. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mary C. Tanya, come on up, please.
Hi, thanks for letting me share. Been a great meeting. I'm Tanya, I'm an alcoholic. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so you brought up the childhood stuff, the rapes, therapy. Now I heard that. The herpes. That is like the kiss of death. In my experience, that I got from a rapist. And it's like, once I tell people that, it's like the doors slam shut. How do you do that? How do you deal with that?
So when it happened to me, or it didn't really happen to me, I participated in it, you know. Nobody raped me. I chose to sleep with somebody unprotected. I didn't ask them the questions. And I put myself in a position, you know what I mean? So that's my experience with it. But when it happened, my immediate thought was like, I can't tell anybody. And it's kind of like we were talking about earlier, something just kicked in. And my next thought was like, I have enough things that separate me from everyone else. This is not going to be another one of them. And if I keep, and some people say like, you're honest to a fault. You don't need to tell people that. And I just don't care, because you know, all my friends know, everybody that cares about me knows. And somebody told me a long time ago, if they mind, they don't matter. If they matter, they don't mind, you know? And so the people who genuinely love me and care about me don't care. And it really doesn't have anything to do with my character or who I am as a person or my ability to be effective. If anything, it's enhanced my ability to be effective, you know? And so I just decided, I don't really know why, it just popped in my head, but I did not want to harbor around this secret and, you know, feel disgusting and gross. And I'm just not. It's a really common thing that people deal with. And it really has nothing to do. How it has to do with my alcoholism is I was sober when I got it. And it's a result of untreated alcoholism and trying to, you know, fill this void with something that makes me feel better versus dealing with my issues head on and trusting the process. I want to feel good. So I'm trying to get some pee so I can feel better, you know? So I guess when you're saying the kiss of death, do you mean, you can just thumbs up, but do you mean with like relationships? You talking about just friends in general? Relationships? Okay. So I've told some guys, and here's kind of my outlook on it is like, the dude didn't give me an option to make my own choice. He didn't tell me, he lied about it. And then later he was like, I thought if I told you, you wouldn't like me. I was like, oh, cool, bro. So now kind of in my head, I'm like, I tell people and I give them the option to choose, you know, because that option was taken away from me. And so if they choose no, that doesn't have anything to do with me. That has nothing to do with me. That's their choice. And if that one don't want me, there's somebody out there that would be more than happy to have me. You know what I'm saying? Same with you. That's just my outlook on it. So I don't think it's the kiss of death. You know, I think if you kiss somebody and fall off a cliff and you die on rocks, that might be the kiss of death. I think herpes is pretty manageable, you
know? Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Tanya. So, since there's no hands up for questions, I'm just going to open the floor up for sharing. Please keep it to 3 minutes maximum, and please, Mackenzie, feel free to share on the comment on the shares if you wish. And I am going to pick as the spirit moves me. Joel from Phoenix, would you come on up, please?
Oh, okay. Thanks for calling on me, Ali. I mean, I don't know what to say to you, Mackenzie. Your honesty, the way you just not ashamed and you just put it out there. I mean, I had post-traumatic stress disorder. I had a mother that was alcoholic, and she smacked me around. She had a weird relationship with men. She used to like to use her sexuality, to get them to buy her drinks and buy her things. And she'd come home drunk and smack me around and, hold her P word and say, see, they wanted this and I didn't have to do that. And she'd throw money. I mean, I have all those kind of fucked up memories. And you're right. Maybe I should share more about it. Maybe there's somebody else out there that I could help, but it's a lot of shame, having a mother alcoholic and growing up in poverty and all that kind of crap. The thing that you talked about therapy, I had been in therapy, I don't know, at least 10 years before coming into AA. And then I continued therapy in AA. And eventually I got to a place where I was okay with myself. And that was about 20 years ago. I'm sober now, 39 years. But now I've been dealing with, I'm going to this meeting called Emotional Sobriety on Thursday nights. And they talk about this dependence on other people to give me any kind of feeling of warmth or being needed, being wanted and stuff. And this is starting to kick up some old feelings that I had. I mean, one of the major feelings I had as a little child was she would smack me and say, get the fuck out of the house, not feeling wanted, not feeling needed, not feeling, appreciated or loved. And I'm very sensitive. If I hear things that aren't there, like a slight, they don't really want me around. They don't really like my company. And this is coming to a 70-year-old man. And I said, I thought I dealt with these issues. So I thank you for kind of reminding me maybe I need a little outside help, because I've inventoried this crap out of this shit. I really have. But sometimes you do need some outside help. I loved your share last night. I'm sorry I was a little bit late. I was watching a great movie. Everybody, you got to go see The Heights. Oh, man. I'm from New York. I'm not Puerto Rican, but I had a lot of Puerto Rican and Dominican friends. That movie is so fucking good. It made me cry. So everybody, we can go to the movies now. Thanks for your share. Bye-bye.
Joel, do you want feedback or not? Because I don't want to give it unsolicited.
No, we're asking for you to.
Oh, okay, cool.
As the spirit moves you, please. Yeah, thank you, Joel.
Well, okay, so mine was a lot of the same thing you talked about, but my stepdad would come home and beat my ass when I was a kid. And my mom, when my stepdad was killed, she was sitting, I used to tell my mom all the time, I wish it was just me and you again, Mom, And when my stepdad died, she looked at me and she goes, I hope you're fucking happy because it's just me and you now. You got what you wanted. And my granddad would call me the C word. And my pet name was, you bet a stupid mother effer, So all that stuff sounds very familiar. And when I went to therapy and I was doing EMDR, and it also just kind of came with time. And you said, I'll be sitting with people and I'll feel like they don't really want me around. They don't like me. And I just started telling people that. I'm like, I feel like y'all don't like me. And they're like, what? And it would open dialogue. Somebody told me transparency breeds transparency. And we walk around like, I like your jeans. What meetings are you going to? A cool car, dude, And we have this surface level, relationship with people. And I'm still operating off of a child's brain. When I get in those situations, I revert to childhood. And it's like, I just get shocked back into this place. And so I just started saying it and telling people. And what it did was it opened this beautiful, it really helped me create a lot of relationships by just being vulnerable. And then I realized how many people felt the same way I did, and I'm not alone. And it's another thing that helped develop my trust in God. I'm like, I'm scared and I'm taking these actions because I'm trying to protect myself. And really, they're just they're encasing me in this prison, And so same thing with like, I just name it, you know, and I just say it. Because I know, again, my brain's trying to kill me. My brain's like, they don't really like you. They don't like your cool mustache. You're boring. They don't like movies. Who cares that you got 39? You know what I mean? My brain tells me some weird stuff, and I'm like, yeah. And when I, it's like a red flag. You know, when you're dating somebody and they're like, can I move in on the first date? That should be a red flag. When my head's like, nobody likes me, that should be an immediate red flag where I'm like, no, man, this ain't happening. It's like Teresa was talking about last night. Like, it's not like I see a billboard for drinks and I'm like, wow, that's great. Let me go drink. It's some insidious, deep, dark, sneaky shit that's coming up on me in any way it can, you know? So I don't know. That's what I think about it. I think you're cool.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Mackenzie, I think here's a compliment, and I mean it. I think you're in some ways, you're like a little mini Teresa. All right. Mary J, come on up, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary, and I'm an alcoholic. And I just wanted to really thank Mackenzie. It was just such a great message, and you just had that great straightforward honesty that I really appreciate. And I think part of what you were talking about with the 11th step and with the God of your understanding, I mean, it's important that people know that for a lot of us, it is a long process, and it's just little things you pick up along the way. And I realized well into my sobriety, you know, I had a problem with my need to be independent. I always felt I had to do for myself. So I come in the program with that same idea. Well, God will do for me what I cannot do for myself, but He won't do for me what I can. So although I think it's very positive, there's a good side to being independent, self-sufficient, but my independence and my self-sufficiency and my really need for that, or call it control, it has held me back in lots of areas of sobriety, and especially with God. I mean, it was just step by step, because, you know, I didn't really trust myself when I came into the program. I'd made such a mess of my life. I really probably didn't trust you that much. And so, no, I had to manage things myself. Even when I believed in God, I thought He was probably way too busy. I had to keep my hands on the reins. Anyway, thanks again, Mackenzie. Just great.
Thank you, Mary.
It reminded me of that part in the book where it says, like, you know, it's like, it's a paradox. When we depend on God, we become more independent ourselves. And when I read that, I was like, whatever. And then later I was like, oh my God, they were right. Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you. Jose, come on up, please.
Hi, Mackenzie. Thank you so much. I'm Jose. I'm an alcoholic. I didn't get to see you talk because I was working, but you know, I got in this meeting because I really try not to miss it, even though I'm late. But I still wanted to ask a question. I was in the street car and I said, you know, let me just ask this question because this is where I'm at right now. You know, like I have a lot of trouble with self-pity. You know, just like the book says, I'm driven by self-pity and fear and many other forms of the other two things, right? But the one I think I deal with the most is self-pity, you know, and I don't always know how to deal with it. So I was just thinking, maybe I should ask her how she deals with self-pity. You know, do you experience that and how do you deal with it? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jose. You're precious. Okay. I was bred to be a victim. I was bred to be in self-pity at all times. They were like, poor baby, your mommy did drugs and you never knew your daddy and you mistreated child. So that's like ingrained in me. You know what I mean? And I think how I dealt with it in the beginning was I just had to keep talking about it and inventorying it. And I would inventory it. I became so aware of it, but I would still act on it. And I was like, what the hell? This sucks. You know, why can't I just change? And with step 6, what they were talking about is I have to create the environment for God to change me. I can't take away my defects. You know what I mean? And self-pity is a huge, enormous, ugly, disgusting defect that I had. And if I could just stop being in self-pity, I would have done that by now. You know what I'm saying? And it's this weird thing where, like, I hope this makes sense with, I hope I explain it correctly, but like my sexual behavior was so outrageous and crazy, and I knew it for years, and I tried to just stop and temper and dress different, act different, and I kept doing it. It kept happening, and I'm like, I've prayed about it, I've written about it, and it kept happening. And then one day, it was like it was just pulled out of me. Does that make sense? Like there was just a flip. So I was in self-pity for a long time, but I kept like they said, don't give up. Just keep walking, and eventually your head will catch up with your feet, you know? And so I had to be in self-pity for a long time, and one day it just changed, you know? And I just kept talking to people about it, even though I was like, God, they're so sick of hearing about this. Who cares? What's the alternative? Is I got to live in my head. I kept talking about it. I kept inventorying it. I kept praying about it. I would write about it in my meditations in the morning. Look at all these sticky notes. Hold on. Look at all these sticky notes. I would put sticky notes. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, dumbass. You know, like, and it's another thing with those red flags we were talking about. It was like and I would ask God, please help me be aware of when I'm doing these things. So when it would come up and I would recognize it, I'd be like, restart, you know, hit the button. And I would just try to reset. And it's like, you know, when you first get sober and you think about like, oh, I want to go drink. I need to do this and reset. Oh my God, I need to drink. And you try to reset. It's the same thing with that, and kind of with anything else. Like when it crops up and I realize it, I have to reset my brain. And then I ask myself, like, why am I scared right now? I need to call somebody. Like, why, because I guess for me, it's drilled in my head, like, how is self-reliance failing me? How am I not trusting God? How is self-reliance failing me? How am I not trusting God? Because why am I in fear right now? Isn't it because I don't trust God? Why am I in self-pity right now? Isn't it because I don't trust God? And it's like when you say shrink Ralph, grow God, shrink Ralph, grow God. It's like, why am I in self-pity? How am I not trusting God? How self-reliance failed me? Damn it. It's like a mantra in my head. Okay, that's how I dealt with it. God removed it. That's how I dealt with it.
Thank you, Jose. We got a few minutes left, so please be mindful of the time. If we run out of time, please keep your hands up and stick around. I'm sure Mackenzie will stick around just for a little bit to answer your questions. Our next person is Lyle, I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Thanks so much. Hi, my name's Lael, gratefully recovering, not in AA. Mackenzie, I got so much out of your share. I can't even tell you. I wish I'd heard every word, but I came on the meeting a little late. But anyway, my question is so close to the last one. Maybe you won't have anything different to say, but I wanted to ask you, apart from the St. Francis prayer and being of service, how you stop being self-centered, because that's something I really struggle with. Surprise, surprise. And also, if you put any limit on the amount of service you do too, or if, you know, how you kind of decide like how many people to sponsor, or maybe you just leave that up to your higher power. And I'm kind of interested about your experience with writing specifically and how you journal. But my main question is, how do you overcome self-centeredness? Thank you, Mackenzie. I can't even tell you. You're such a healing presence. I hope I hear you speak 20 more times. Thanks.
Thank you. I have not overcome self-centeredness. I am still self-centered to the core. I wish I could overcome it. I'm just very aware of it now. Sometimes it's that I'm not aware of it until it's too late. So in some areas, I'm really good, and I've changed a lot. And in some, I just suck. Like, I don't know if it was because my medicine messed up. My pharmacy was giving me the wrong medicine for 3 months. That really threw me off. But with work, I haven't been doing anything at work. And I called Teresa, and she was like, you just ain't working. And Ralph said, you just need to take action. And I'm like, it's not that easy, bro. You know, I wish it was, but I want to get a paycheck. I want to enjoy a reputation that I don't deserve. And I think like with time, you know, I wish there was some magic answer, but it's really not. It's just like, if I'm aware that I'm being self-centered and I choose to take the same actions, that's on me, you know? And then I hope that answers the question. Maybe. I don't feel like it did, but I'm sorry. But with this, so I lived in AA for the first 6 years. I went to over at least 2 meetings a day minimum for 6 years. I lived in AA. I stayed away from my family and my kid. The only thing I did was I was on host committees. I was in area assemblies. I was at district meetings. I was a GSR. I sponsored 22 people. I was in school full time. I had a boyfriend. I had a kid. I was working full time, you know what I mean? And like every single girl that crossed my path, I thought I could save her, and I wanted to be a circuit speaker and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I had to really take a look. One of my sponsors that I had, he said, how effective are you being? Is it effective for me to be sponsoring 20 women when there's 20 million women in AA who can give them the real time they deserve? Or is it my ego? You know, why do I have to be on every single service committee? Do I think there's not enough people in AA, or they're incompetent? Do I not trust you know what I mean? The group conscious and what's going on? Like, I don't have to have my hands in everything. For me, it was an ego thing. I wanted everybody to know how good at AA I was, because and I was living a complete double life. You know, I was doing my little sexual extravaganza on the side. I was gambling, playing pool, working in a bar, traveling the country in tournaments, saying, let's gamble, 25,000 a set, you know? And then I was going in AA. I sponsored 22 women and I've worked the traditions packet and blah, 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 you know? So I think it's like a to thine own self be true thing. Like, what's my motive? Am I doing it so everybody knows I got 25 sponsees, or am I doing it to really be helpful, you know? And also one thing for me is like, I thought I was going to fix myself through trying to work with other people, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not going to have to deal with my stuff. It's just going to magically be okay because I'm doing all this busy work in AA. One of my sponsors says you can't busy work your way through sobriety. And I guess it's the motive thing, you know? Am I trying to help you to avoid working on my shit? And then with writing, there's no rhyme or reason. I just write. My sponsor said write, so I just write. I do kind of the two-way prayer thing. I hate doing that though, because it always gets me, man. I'm like, oh my God, where did this come from? But yeah, I don't know. That's it. Thank you so much, baby.
Thank you, Mackenzie. I think what I got present to from your talk, the profound experience that you've had that I also share, is not being completely selfless. It's asking God to use me to help others in that self-centeredness. I think that's what I really got from that. Thank you so much. Sam, come on up, please.
My name's Sam and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Mackenzie. Thank you for sharing. I didn't hear damn near any of it, but I'm in 1 to 3 group chats in which everybody's like, oh my God, holy shit, this person, you gotta hear it. I was like, God damn it. So I came through. And I am currently on my own, like, sexcapades on ice situation. So and I just heard you say that, like, it was taken, but I also heard you say, that 6-step, like, making the environment, like, laying that. So, I think my question is, like, even though you're like doing it, right? Because I'm like fucking in it, right? Like, I'm like, I know this is bad. I know I shouldn't do it. I know I shouldn't do him. I know, you know, all the stuff. But like, I cannot not do it. What of the spiritual, like, what things were you doing in conjunction with that you think laid kind of the foundation? And also, did you go to another program?
Thank you, Sam. And oh my God, you're precious. You know, I guess everybody's precious, but Sam for real. what I was around all these people. You know, I grew up in the Bible Belt, and I was the youngest person in the group. So they were all trying to like make me their little protege. Every woman in there was like, I'm going to sponsor you. And they were like, you just need to dress different, act different, close your legs. Don't put your feet up on the desk when you're chairing a meeting. Leave that boy alone, blah, 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 blah. And the real folks in AA, you know what I'm talking about. The real ones in AA were like, only God can judge your sex situation. What are you comfortable with, you know? And this is really what there was a couple things that got me. But one, I kept going to my sponsor and I was like, I think I just need to be a lady. I think I just need to stop sleeping with so many people. She said, you're doing a lot of thinking. You know, she said, why don't you just finish the steps? And I was like, no, I just need to be a lady. So I'm like trying to be a lady in AA, and I've sworn off men. And then my ex, the dude that gave me herpes, he was like a on call at any time. He was on call, you know? And, so he called me, and it was like, I could feel it shooting through. I was like, you know, when the obsession hits and you got to go right then, that's how it felt. So I went to a meeting, and Big Dan was there. Big Dan had like 30 years. And I was like, I want to go do this dude, but I'm trying to be a lady and blah, blah, blah. And he just asked me a very simple question. He goes, are you comfortable with your actions? I said, well, hell yeah, I'm super comfortable with those actions. You know, I'm real comfortable with that. And he said, okay, we'll just go do it. And I'm like, damn, this old timer's give me permission. I'm gonna go do it. So I went and did it. And I found out real quick, I was not comfortable with my actions. You know what I'm saying? So I think when it gets to a point where you're not if I'm not comfortable with your actions, or your sponsor's not, or your mom, when you're not comfortable with your actions, then you can change them. You know, until then, rock on, do your thing. And no, I don't care who you're sleeping with or how frequent you're doing it. It does not affect me in any way. But if it affects you, that might be something you need to look at. And then I did go to another program like this past year after I started therapy and all that stuff. Before, a lot of people told me I needed to go to that. And I said, no, I don't. And I just had to have my own experience. And I, you know how when you were drinking and it quit working, and I would try to drink and drink and drink, and I couldn't get drunk anymore. Teresa says this, I became present for my experience. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened with that stuff. It got to where it didn't work like it used to anymore. And it didn't take the pain away, and it didn't make me forget. And I wasn't separate. It was like, it was still there. And I was like, what the hell is this? You're taking everything from me. You know, you're taking it all. So I think that's my thing is like, you'll know there's nothing that you can do right now, and there's nothing you can't do right now to make it happen any faster or slower than it's going to happen right when it's supposed to. And that's the part that sucks, is the not knowing and not having control. You know, I don't know when it's going to be removed or lifted, but I can't, me sitting in a meeting, me sitting in 3 meetings a day, reading a book, sharing real good for 3 hours, and sitting at home scared is not living. I have experience by living. So I got to go live and figure it out. And that's the best thing they told me is like, I don't know what's going to work for you, but you got to go see, go. In Memphis, they have this saying that says, go out, sin boldly, and trust God. And my sponsor also asked me this question. Because I was like, I want to do this, but it's bad and I shouldn't. And then, and she said, I don't know if anybody's going to agree with this, but I live my life by this. She said, do you want to look back in 5 years and wonder what would have happened if I would have done this? I don't. I got to go know. I got to know that my way doesn't work. I have to know. Hopefully that'll change one day, but it ain't going to be anytime soon unless God decides. Whatever. That's it. Thank you, Sam.